Many of you have probably heard of the Thunderbirds, the massive birds from Native American mythology that are said to possess immense power and influence over the world. But what many people don't know is that living under Lake Superior, there is said to be a creature of immense power that lives in opposition to the Great Thunderbird and serves as a protector of the Great Lakes. Today, we are going to look into Mishipeshu, the underwater panther and the guardian of the Great Lakes. Mishipeshu is an extremely powerful water spirit that is well known by Anishinaabe native groups that live around the Great Lakes region and parts of the northeastern woodland. In particular, the Odawa, Ojibwe, the Potawatomi, and many other groups that lived around Lake Superior. Due to Mishipeshu's importance across several different groups, across the American Northeast, it is well known by several different names, with them generally translating into underwater panther or the Great Lynx, and Mishipeshu, I believe, translates to the Great Lynx. The appearance of Mishipeshu is often described as a mix between a big cat and a dragon, with a feline body shape and many other cat-like features, along with horns that are said to resemble a bison's, very scaly skin, and a fine long tail. And it is sometimes said that they possess spines made of copper, and their horns and whiskers are also made of copper. More on this later, though. Depictions of Mishipeshu are often seen on medicine bags, along with a very beautiful red ochre pictograph that can be found on Ogawa Rock at the Lake Superior Provincial Park in Canada. And the sizes of Mishipeshu often vary, with them sometimes being said to take a form around the size of a lynx, and also being said to reach colossal proportions, dwarfing any known animal. And due to this, it's likely that the Mishipeshu has the ability to control its size and appearance to onlookers. As said in the intro, Mishipeshu is a very fierce rival of the Thunderbird, who has dominion over the air and the creatures of the wind, while Mishipeshu has domain over the water and its many creatures, such as snakes, fish, frogs, whales, and many other animals. They are both seen as equals who are in an eternal conflict which is necessary for the balance of nature. Think of it kind of like as box art legendary Pokemon. Mishipeshu is said to reside under Lake Superior, the largest freshwater lake in the entire world, and also having dominion over Michipikoten Island. And as you can assume, given Mishipeshu's designation as a water spirit, it possesses control over water, being able to create powerful storms and unrelenting waves. Mishipeshu has often been viewed as a benevolent figure, sinking boats, flooding camps, and bringing great misfortune. Although this isn't the full picture, with them also being seen as quite knowledgeable beings who can grant good hunts, bountiful harvest, great knowledge, and good luck to those who show respect. Due to their power, the people of the lake often perform ceremonies and bring offerings to the water in order to appease the Mishipeshu for safe travels, good weather, and to maintain balance between it and the Thunderbird. But you can't really bring up the Mishipeshu without discussing its relationship with copper. You see, the Lake Superior region is well known for copper mining, in particular, the Keweenaw Peninsula, whose copper-rich deposits are well known to the natives of the region. But by the 1700s, exploiting the region for its copper had become taboo, with the Ojibwe outlawing the practice entirely. Perhaps for this reason, Mishipeshu is said to guard the lake's copper, bringing great tragedy upon anyone who harvests copper from the region. And to take copper from Michipikoten Island is seen as one of the most egregious actions, being seen as stealing it right out of Mishipeshu's paws. According to a well-known story told by a Jesuit missionary, Claude Dablin, 4 Ojibwe men were determined to bring copper to their village by any means necessary. So they head out for Michipikoten Island in search of its bountiful copper. They would fill up their canoe with as much copper as they could find, but the second they pushed their boats off to leave, the waves would become violent and the sky would darken with heavy storm clouds looming overhead. Within the water, large scales could be seen beneath the violet waves, following a dreadful roar. And at that moment, They had realized that they had aggravated the great Mishipeshu. The Mishipeshu would then accuse the men of stealing the copper of the island before shattering the canoe with a powerful wave, only sparing one man. The man would arrive back to his village empty handed, living only long enough to tell the village what had happened. And as settlers would arrive in the region and load their boats up with iron and copper, many would be lost in the turbulent waters of Lake Superior, perhaps as punishment from the Mishipeshu. Due to its affinity for copper, it is sometimes depicted as having copper features such as scale, fur, spines, and horns. And it is also theorized that the Mishipeshu legend was once more widespread as it is now, as the alligator mound at Granville, Ohio, is speculated to actually be a depiction of Mishipeshu, and that the Europeans got the interpretation of the creature wrong. And I mean, this kind of makes sense given there are no alligators or crocodiles in Ohio. Only in Ohio. Now, in my Cryptid Corner series, around this part, I would be talking about possible explanations as to what whatever I'm talking about could be. But I feel that doesn't really fit with Mishipeshu. There aren't a huge wealth of sightings of Mishipeshu, much unlike its Thunderbird counterpart, and it seems to cross more over into the deity or spirit category, opposed to it being a physical animal. So instead of trying to theorize what Mishipeshu could be, I think we should look into what Mishipeshu represents and what it means to the people of the region. A huge theme with Mishipeshu is aggressiveness and violence. It's known to sink ships and to start storms. It is described as resembling a mix of some of the most dangerous animals in its region. It will attack anyone even attempting to steal copper from the region. Hell, it is locked in eternal combat with the Thunderbird. And as Mishipeshu is a water spirit, Lake Superior, the domain it rules over, is home to quite turbulent water. Due to its size, violent waves and large storms are known to kick up due to the winds blowing uninterrupted across the vast lake. Pointing out locations where Mishipeshu are said to live is a great way of dissuading people from treading into dangerous waters. And as for Michipikoten Island, which is said to be home to Mishipeshu, has historically been uninhabited and undesirable. On top of Mishipeshu, natives of the region had claimed that very dangerous creatures like giants and some Wendigo lived on the island, serving as a mythological reason not to inhabit the island. And outside of mining and fishing, settlers couldn't really make good use of the island, with it only now really being inhabited by campers with mines dotted across the island. This is a good example of Mishipeshu being used as a way to dissuade people from going to a very undesirable place. Not necessarily because it is dangerous, but because there really is nothing there, and if you get lost or hurt in the woods, no one is there to help you. And in that regard, you might as well have been eaten by a giant beast. But at the same time, Mishipeshu isn't only said to be a violent brute. It is a being who has been known to be generous and to show respect at points. Despite its hostility, the benefits it provides are crucial for those who live in the area, and that is exactly what can be said for Lake Superior itself. Even though its waters can be turbulent and dangerous, Lake Superior provides its inhabitants with great resources and travel, and like the Great Lake, the Mishipeshu is seen with respect. And in regard to its protectiveness over copper, this can be seen as a great deterrent from over-harvesting and harming the environment. Many people believe that Native Americans never learned how to use metals, but this couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, early natives were among some of the first metal workers in the entire world. And in regard to why they stopped harvesting copper in this area, I think an old proverb, "don't shit where you eat," comes to mind and is pretty efficient here. Copper extraction leaves behind a ton of waste, and given Lake Superior was a massive source of food and water to them, it wouldn't be smart to contaminate it. And due to copper not really being used in their daily lives and being pretty much limited to ceremonial items, copper extraction in the region was not really worth the risk of harming the Great Lakes' health, especially when flint tips worked just as fine as copper. Symbolically, Many Anishinaabe descendants use Mishipeshu as a symbol of cultural pride and resilience of their people. Several objects, such as medicine bags and musket engravings, have this malevolent creature on it, showing that they wouldn't be going anywhere. And even after enduring some of the darkest moments of our nation's history and the greatest betrayal that the United States has ever done, many still call Lake Superior region home today, carrying on the customs and telling the stories that their ancestors told centuries ago. And one of these stories was that of Mishipeshu, which can be seen as a symbol of the Great Lakes themselves. Mishipeshu is a creature that is symbolic of Lake Superior and the many peoples who call it home. Both are powerful and can prove extremely destructive, but they provide so much to those who show them respect. If you treat the lake with respect and take only what you need and keep it clean, then Mishipeshu and the lake will grant plentiful resources and great fortune. And this rings true even in modern times. The short-nosed cisco is a fish that was once plentiful in the Great Lakes, but due to negligence and a lack of respect for the lake, they were overfished and invasive lampreys destroyed their populations. They were last seen in 1985 and would be considered extinct, and other fish in the lake witnessed a decline as well, such as the trout. But due to better environmental practices, the trout population had been declared fully restored in November of 2024, and just a month later, the short-nosed cisco has been rediscovered in Lake Superior. It is best that we continue this great work. After all, if you don't show respect, the lake will grow violent until it is desolate, and when the water loses its power, the Thunderbird will go unchecked. So, keep the Thunderbird at bay, pick up your trash, and think about the trout population. And that's going to do it for Mishipeshu. I thought this was a very interesting video to make, as it's a little bit different. You know, we're not covering a cryptid, we're covering more of a mythological creature. And I felt I didn't really want to cover it as a cryptid. It just didn't feel like it made sense, especially the more I looked into it. You know, this isn't really a lake monster in the same regards as, like, I don't know, Nessie or Ogopogo. It's not really too there's not too much of a basis of it being real as much as it is a symbol of the lake and the people who live there. So I really wanted to cover it in a very interesting manner. I don't know if I'll make a whole series dedicated to mythological creatures, but I definitely do want to cover them in their own videos, you know, not as a part of Cryptid Corner. Because cryptid is a very vague term, but, you know, I kind of want to cover things like this in a completely separate series. So I really want to know what y'all thought about it. People of the region, people of these cultures. How did I cover Mishipeshu? You know, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. I think it was a very cool deep dive. I liked looking into it a lot. It was very fun, you know. But how did I do? Make sure to leave a comment down below. Leave a suggestion on what you want me to cover in another video. Make sure to subscribe. Ring that bell if you like this content. Stay notified and stay watching, because we ain't gonna stop anytime soon. Monday's video should be very fun. It should be a very fun topic that I've wanted to look into for a while, but there's a bit of reading I had to do beforehand, so I'm gonna definitely get on that. But I'd like to thank you all for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.